Hello everyone, welcome to my PHP tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to look at PHP constant. So you may already learn variable concept in my previous chapter, and in this chapter also we are going to look at something extended version of the variable. So what is constant? So constant is again a type of a variable, but it will only allow you to hold a one particular value permanently. So that means at the time you define the variable, you can keep a value inside the memory location, and after that you can't modify it. So sounds interesting. So why we use this? So for example, if you can think about like environmental set of information, so they are not going to be changed every time. So most of the time that will be a static information. Or for example, you have a database connection. So in that particular project, the database connection or the database name, database link address or the domain name, username, password, so those are something static information. You don't need to change time to time. For that kind of a reasons, we have this constant in PHP. So there are pre-built constant as well as developer made constant. So I'm going to look at developer made constants today. So to implement a constant, you need to use a function called define. So as you can see, I'm in the php.net site. So this function is used by PHP 4 onwards, 5, 7. So it will be spreading all the major versions of PHP. And for this define function, you need to provide a name for the variable constant and then a value. So value can be a mixed data type. So it can be object, it can be an array, so it can be a string or integer or a double. So you can use any of this value as a data into this constant variable. And at the same time, you can make sure that your constant is case sensitive or not. So by default it is case sensitive. So if you want to make it case insensitive, you want to set to true. So once you run this define function, you will get a return with a boolean result. So that means we can have a condition to see whether it was built or implemented or not. So if I go back to my code editor, I will create a new PHP file and save this as constant.php. So, so I'll add a PHP code block. So we'll give a name for this variable. We'll say host name, and we'll turn this into this, provide a string value. So we'll say this is code wrapper.com. So now I have already defined my constant. So if I want to print this into the browser to check whether it was available in my memory, so I can simply put echo and give host name. So I'll save this and then I'll run the SAMP control panel. Then So I start the Apache. Going back to my codewrapper.com, and I need to go to constant.php. Yeah, so I did a mistake with the name of the file, so I'll rename this constant. Right, so you can see it appears the value. So when you are working with the variables, you already understood we use the dollar symbol. That is a mandatory requirement. Like every time when you are dealing with a variable, you need to place dollar symbol at the beginning and after that the variable name. But when it's come to PHP constant, there's no such like a dollar symbol. So you can simply provide a name for the defined function, and that will be considered as a constant name. So you can see I didn't use any dollar sign. And I want you to show you that since we use only two parameters and there's a one parameter is waiting, so that is a case sensitivity or not. So it's not a mandatory argument, so it's optional one. So that means if you ignore, by default this function will automatically allows a value for this. So by default this will be set to case sensitive. So because of that, if I try to use the host name in lowercase, I should get an error saying that this is not defined constant. So you can see it says undefined constant host name. So because it's in the lowercase and our defined constant is in uppercase. So if you want to make sure that this is case insensitive, so you can put true. So when you add that, now you will be able to see my two constant variables will be giving us the result. So both are now acting as a one constant. There's no any separation with regards to the case sensitivity. And if you go to the defined function, so this is a one branch of the define. So we use the define function to check, to implement the constant. So defined ed will be used to check whether the given name constants is exist. So you can see there's a one sample example given in this php.net site. So here you can see that we define the test and then we put it into if condition. Since we didn't go into the condition, I may not go in detail, but it will check whether the constant is created or not by using the defined. So there's a small difference between this term. One is defined, which used to create the constant, and the defined will be used to check whether the constant variable is available or not. So this will be very useful when we work in a project to maintain constants values throughout the project. So when we go into the project level development examples in our next tutorial, so I will be utilizing this as well. So with this, I'm going to stop this tutorial for today, and then we'll catch up with a new tutorial with a new concept. So hope you understood. So if you are having any issues, any doubts, put it in my video channel, so you can directly contact me as well. So subscribe me and provide your feedback as well. Okay, so then thank you for watching us. So we'll stop. So thank you.